Hey there. If we could see behind the walls, the four walls of your home, behind the door and with the windows closed, would we see a haven where people are happy in there? And even though it's noisy, it's calm in the presentation, it's calm in the environment? Or would we see that whirlwind, that whirlwind of the hecticness of motherhood? Well, you know what? If you're like me, that's how I used to be. But I learned a couple things, three of them actually. Well, actually, a whole lot more. But today, I'm going to talk to you about three of them on Moms Like Us Do Things Like This. Hey, I just have to tell you that it can be chaos. The mom's life can be chaos. And in this modern motherhood that we find ourselves in, it can get really messy. It can get messy because the messages that the world is giving us are conflicting. It can get messy because, well, we have kids and that means it's going to be messy. It can also be messy because inside of us, we're kind of torn. We're not really confident in who we are as moms. I want to talk to you about three things that are going to help you get the chaos, not just out of your home and that whirlwind that seems to be going all around you, but the whirlwind that's inside of you, mom. And when you can get that whirlwind out of you, it's okay if it's a little messy. It's even okay if it's a little loud. But because you will have it straight within you and you will have a calmness, a solidness on the way you stand and the things that you believe, you are going to be able to have the life that you want, even if it's a whirlwind inside of that house. Hi, I'm Mona Corwin, and as you know, I am your mom mentor. I've been married for over 40 years and I have 5 grown kids. I've been in it. And I've been in it for a really long time. I'm an author and a speaker, and now I'm on TV everywhere. And I just have to tell you that it wasn't always calm, and I didn't always feel like my identity as a mother and a woman were intact. I didn't. It was something I learned, and I learned it from other women that taught me exactly what it means to be a mom and a woman. On Moms Like Us Do Things Like this program, and also inside of the Moms Like Us Academy, these are places where you are going to find the things about home and motherhood and womanhood and marriage. And you know what? Things about you, things that you may not even know exist inside of you, things that God's placed inside of you that need to get out, and being able to find out how to do that. It was a moment in my life where I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know why I'm doing it. And I felt like I was losing myself in the mess of motherhood, which kind of made it more chaotic everywhere in my life, in my marriage and in my mothering, in my relationship with my kids, the way I interacted with them. And I was frustrated and I was anxious because this is what I waited for my whole life, to be a mom. And here I was, a mom, and I didn't have a clue what to do. Well, I'm going to talk to you about 3 of those things that really, really helped me. All right? The very first one, quit listening to what the world says. Our world doesn't have the moral, the moral fiber that it used to have. It doesn't have a sense of the way God designed things, and that, you could kind of count on the fact that the world was going to back you up when you didn't want your kid to lie, or the world and the school were going to kind of back you up when you had things that you wanted your children to do and not do. But it's not that way anymore. Everything's a little cray-cray. And so your home is more important than ever. And so you're going to have to figure out what's important to you, what's important to your husband, what's important to you within the virtues and the character that you want your children to have. You know, that's part of that No Regrets Motherhood Blueprint course that we have, and it helps you figure that out. You need to be able to look at the way you're moving forward and be able to say, oh, yeah, this is where we're going. This is what the Corwins believe. You know, we can't wing it anymore, sweetie. We can't in this world. You're going to have to be the one that makes a difference in the lives of your children and in your marriage. You're going to be the one. We can't just wing it. We're going to get crushed. And it's our homes all around us are falling apart. Divorces are everywhere and all that scary stuff. We kind of need to stop listening to what the world has to say and start looking at what God has to say. What God says about marriage, what God says about home. Because when God created home and family, that was the very first thing, well, one of the very first things that he created. When he created the man and the woman and told them to go out and multiply and subdue the earth. Like, go out and live, go out and be in it. That's where we started, family. And so that's where we need to be. The world right now is saying, like, family isn't even kind of necessary, and marriage certainly isn't necessary. And living together with people, man and woman living together and having kids, and then they're leaving and there's craziness there and the kids are confused, and yeah, this is not God's design. God really designed it to be one man, one woman, in love, making it through the hard way, raising kids, reading his word, having home be the place where you're safe and you're loved, and no matter what, you belong. These are the things that you can determine in your life, and you can make them solid in your marriage, in your home. You and your man, figure it out. Now, that's not to say that divorces won't happen and that kids don't mess up, because both of those things absolutely do happen. But you know what? We have to give it a really good try. And we give it that try by looking at what God says. So we can't really measure how we're doing or what we should be doing by what the world says, and certainly not what social media says. We can look at all the things that are on social media. I have to tell you, I'm not mad at social media. I kind of like to see all the fun stuff that's going on in your life. I don't really want to see you arguing with your husband or losing it on your kids on Instagram. But we all know that we do it, right? We all know that we lose it with our kids and we're yelling at our men sometimes. We all know it. But beyond the normal of it, that anxiety that can be in you, wondering, are we going to make it? Well, make a plan. Make a plan, sweetie. Make a plan of what you would like your kids to be like. In the No Regret Motherhood Blueprint, we start out saying, hey, it's your 60th birthday, and you're standing there, and it's a surprise. And everybody around you are people that you love. Your kids are there, your friends, your husband's there, everybody's smiling at you. What do you regret on that day? What are they saying on that day to you about you? And what are they like? You know, I thought that when I was younger. What do I want these kids to be like? If I'm going to want them to be like this, this, and this, I'm going to have to teach it to them. I did a show just like this recently on how to be a patriot, how to raise patriots. Not because everybody's talking about the government, but because I love my country, and so does my husband. And it was a really important thing for us to put into our the things that we do, and into the vacations that we took. I wanted our kids to know how to fold a flag. We all have them. My husband buys them. We wanted our kids to be patriots. Another thing we wanted that was a very high virtue for us was we wanted our kids to understand what honor is. because there's not a whole lot of it. And under the word honor comes a lot of other things like respect and kindness. And, when you go through well, I guess that's part of the academy too. Sorry. We have lots of cool things in the academy because they're things that I know work. And, these kind of shows and the podcast. And if you follow me on Instagram, my posts and things like that, I can give you little snippets, little teeny pieces. But to really learn, you're gonna have to get into the academy and find it. But finding out what those virtues are and then weaving them into your everyday life. God told us in His Word that we're supposed to teach our kids when we wake up and when we're going about our way and when we lie down at night. And He wasn't just talking about the things that are of Him, which all those virtues certainly are part of who God is, but He was talking about how to live a life to show your children what that looks like. So that's a good way to do it. It's like stop listening to what the world says is valuable, and you and your man decide what's valuable. Maybe you think it's really valuable for your kids to know how to fish because grandpa likes to fish and you want to develop that relationship with grandpa. So it's not always something super serious, but maybe it's a fun thing where you start out when they're little and you buy books about fish and then they get the little case with the fishing pole and they go with grandpa down to the corner where where there's a pond. And then when they're 15, dad and grandpa and the 15-year-old go to Montana and they fly fish. Those things don't just happen. You kind of got to plan them. But what a wonderful thing to not have a regret when you're 60 years old, standing there saying, man, I sure regret that I didn't spend time with my kids teaching them how to fish. Man, I regret that I didn't take my dad and my son fishing. You don't have to live in regret, and you don't have to do it the world's way. You can come up with it with you and your man. So that's number one. Number two is I want you to savor what you do. do. Savor it, sweetie. Like inside your house with little ones under your feet, with teenagers like snapping their necks and doing all the things teenagers do. Like, savor it. There's only so many days that you have in those 18 years where they're home. Yeah, there's just so many days. And now that, we're empty nesters, which we're enjoying very much, by the way, after raising 5 kids. It was so fun. We really did savor it. Lots of days were kind of crazy, but we knew that the time was narrow when we were going to be able to have our kids with us every single day and have fun. We just came back from Nashville. I know some of you saw that on my Instagram. It was fun. It's always fun to see the kids, to see them all grown up and loving the Lord, and patriots they are. Savor it, sweetie. And you know how you savor it? Don't rush. Don't rush. Don't try to pack, it all into one little part of your life, one little season of your life. One of the most important things that a mom can do is to have those 3 or 4 years where you're instilling into your children and you're building that emotional bond with that child, where you are molding their very character and the inside of them. It's not really something we can measure, but it's definitely something that shows up later. It shows up later in life, and they have all kinds of statistics for that. And if you want to know some of them, I'll be happy to give them to you. That's why those first 3 years or 4 years that you're home with your kids are vital. Savor them. There is absolutely, unless you're a single mom, figure out a way. It's amazing how the world will tell you that every woman is out there working and nobody stays home with their kids. Well, let me just tell you, that's not the case. And the statistics are there for that also. Now, about 1/4 of all the moms in, that are moms, are at home moms. They're at home, exclusively at home. And this would be married moms. They are home exclusively at home. Just 1/4. And then the other, well, I think it's over, maybe it's a fourth or almost a half, are moms that are, I'm sorry, it is half, that are working and have children that are under the age of, I think it was 12, that are out working in the workforce. So, but inside that's, it wasn't all the way half though, because it didn't, I forgot. I'll look it up for you next time. Anyways, it's not all the moms. It's not even 3/4 of the moms. It's not even half the moms that are out working all the time, all day, that are full-time moms and full-time work, that they work. They're not home. Then there's this middle section of mothers that are really can't check either box. They don't work full-time and they don't stay home full-time because they are the majority. The majority of moms go in and out of the workforce based on what's going on with their children. They're home when the kids are little, and then when they get into school, they're out a little bit more. And then as the kids are in high school and there's a whole lot more time, the moms are back in the workforce, sometimes even full time, but they've been coming in and out of the workforce. And the reason for that is they find being a mother and raising their children a priority, and a priority that they need to invest in, a priority that they need to be in charge of. And so we need to be thinking about that when we look at what the world is saying. We need to savor the moments of the times where we have such direct influence on our kids. Because again, we just can't count on the world anymore. We really can't even count on the schools fully. And, the church, well, they closed them down. And now we're hoping to get back at it. We have more responsibility as moms than ever before to raise up the next generation. We're the mothers that have been raised up, and now we're having to raise ourselves up, literally, to raise the next generation. I mean, it might be the generation that's going to make a total difference in what happens in the world. Will your kids be ready? Will they know what they need to know? I mean, like with me, with being a patriot, will my kids know what the Bill of Rights is? Will they know the three things of government? Will they know what, what the First Amendment is? Will they know? Will they know what that looks like? Will they have seen it in their lives? Will they have seen it in their mother and their dad? So it's important. It's important. What you're doing is not just important, sweetie, it's vital. So savor these moments where you have the influence on your children to not just affect your children and your grandchildren, but literally an entire generation that's coming up behind us. It's a great, great privilege. Okay, and then the last thing is know your why. Number 3, know your why. Know why you're doing what you're doing. If you know why you're doing what you're doing, you're really not going to care what anybody else says, and you really are going to savor the moments, and you really are going to be invested enough to learn what you need to learn so that you can make it happen and not live a regretful life that you get to when you're 60 years old. Know your why. If you know your why, you know what? You'll figure out how. You will. And your why could be something like, I don't want my kids to live the life that I lived. I want my kids to follow God. I know my why. And when you know your why, your identity is solidified because you have purpose. And depending what that purpose is, then you can find your identity. Now, I know our identity is in Christ, right? And I know our identity in our womanhood. And I know those things. But I'm talking about your identity in what you do, not who you are. That's for another day. I think I'll do that next week, separating our who from our do. big thing to learn as a mom. Okay, that's it, little mama. I just want to encourage you that that whirlwind that you're feeling, it doesn't have to be there. It's telling you that things are kind of, and that you needed to go pull the pieces and calm down the air. And you need to stop listening to the world, number one. Number two, savor the moments. Savor the moments. Don't try to fit every piece of your life into one one little one little time slot, right? And number three, know your why. Know why you do what you do, and you'll learn how. Okay, that's it for now. Because moms like us, friend, we got to do things like this. We've got to shore ourselves up so we can be the moms that this generation needs and the generation that's going to follow us need. This is why I do what I do, to help you be able to do what you need to do. All right, so that's it for now. And I will see you next time when moms like us get together and talk about doing things like this. And I want you to be there. So make sure that you are.